think one moment that has stuck with me so much, and maybe it's not a moment, but the experience at the hospital for sick and dying babies. Um, Another team member handed a little girl off to me and told me that she was 4, and she was wearing a dress that was size 24 months, and it was hanging off her. And she seemed so small, but I started to realize um, how that she was older and had a lot more, was a lot more developed than I had originally thought. And she's clung to me the whole time and was clearly really sad.
We went to the hospital of sick and dying children in a way that is so hopeless. You come here with the idea that you're going to help, and you're there, and it really tests your faith because you have to let go and trust that God is in control.
When we were with these elderly women, and one of them was holding my hands, and she gripped them very tightly, and all of a sudden before I knew it, we were wrapped up in a bear hug, in an embrace. And for a solid 2 minutes, I mean, she was not about to let go. And once we finished embracing, I looked back at her eyes, and one of the sisters was standing next to me, and she told me that the woman was blind. And it just struck me that she didn't care who I was, where I'd come from. She just had the capacity to love with all of her heart, and it was such a beautiful witness to having no prior judgments and loving everybody unconditionally no matter what.
Okay, the thing that stood out to me the most was one day we went to an elder care facility, and there was this tiny old lady, like less than 5 feet tall, and whenever anybody had music, or even when there wasn't any music, she would just stand up and sing herself. She would be like dancing and busting out all these amazing moves, and she was just so energetic and lively even at her age, and it was just great to see that.
When we were doing the first water truck stop, and we all were getting out of the car, and these children were all lining up to be held, and the first one that I had was a naked kid. And then I was like, oh, I really don't want to hold this kid because, it's a naked human being that you've never met, and you have no idea who he is or, where he comes from. And then I was like, all right, I'll just do it. And then I grabbed him, and he said thank you into my ear, which I think means a lot for him to speak English and say thank you. So that was the kind of moment that I thought stood out to me.
I want to say there was one moment, but there were many moments, with little kids, because they have a look of hope in their eye that older people don't really have anymore. Like kids, you talk to them and they're just excited about the future, and older people were just bummed and didn't seem very happy.
Probably the first day we were doing stuff, not Monday but Tuesday, when we went to City Soleil, because I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. And when you got out of the tap, everyone all the kids come up to you, hey you, and just want to be held. And so I kind of had people telling me that they were going to come up to you and want to be held, but I didn't know they were going to literally jump into your arms right after you got out of the tap. There was, I don't think, a moment where I wasn't holding a kid. It was amazing to see that the kids were all really, really happy and full of smiles, even though they were in one of the poorest slums in the world.
Well, I would have to say that probably my favorite part was when we got to where the brothers were taking care of all the children that they had there, young adults and children with different varying degrees of handicaps. Finding out that the young man I was sitting next to actually knew sign language, and we could actually communicate towards the end when I realized he knew sign language also, that I could talk to him. And just that at that moment, I was just like, oh, we were supposed to be here. I was able to talk to him, and it's probably the first time he was able to sign to somebody and they knew what they were, what he was saying to them. But I really liked that afternoon. It was a lot of fun for me.